4K 60 frames per second on the Vivo X100 Ultra. How good is it really? I'm checking this out here in Wesel, and a sunny day here, and maybe I'm still a little bit ill there. You might hear it, maybe not. It's the internal microphones that I'm using here on the Vivo X100 Ultra, and what we have here as a nice feature is the possibility to switch to the back-facing cameras during recording of 4K 60, which is, yeah, it's very good. I know that some brands support this for 4K 30, but 4K 60 is a different kind of beast. So let's do this and let's see how it will look like. And by the way, I cannot go wider here to show you this nice little church here. Nevertheless, let's sync cameras, and there you can see, yeah, nice little fountain here. Very little, as you can see. No one's there here besides Timmy, the dog. And of course I can zoom in if I want to, 3.7 times, which is the optical zoom, and it allows me, because 200 megapixels, to crop in to 10 times. There you can see emergency numbers. I can go up to 20 times if you want to read them. So those are all spread around the city, so you know where you are in case of an emergency happens. And yeah, we can zoom in using the slider, which is quite nice, or we can use buttons, just like going to the ultra wide angle. And there, if I just turn around, you will see the trees, a little bit of flaring going on there, and a nice little church there. Let's go back in here. Let's go back to 1 times, 2x, 3.7x, and if you want to go closer, 10x even. So this is 4K 60 frames per second. And here we go, switching back to the front-facing camera. So what do you think about the Vivo X100 Ultra here? 4K 60 frames per second, Oppo Find X7 Ultra, and here you can see a little bit more of the church there in the background, because we have 0.8 times magnification, a wide angle of view here on the front-facing cameras. I can go to 1x, which is closely to what we had with the Vivo X100 Ultra, and 2x if I have something to show, either ears or a mouth, like for example beauty bloggers that might find this very useful. It's a bit overexposing there, the background, because it's a very bright day and I'm in the shadows here. And what I cannot do is switch to the back-facing cameras from the front-facing cameras during recording of 4K 60 or during recording at all, which is a bit of a bummer. Nevertheless, what do you think about the stabilization colors of the Find X7 Ultra here in comparison to the Vivo X100 Ultra? Let's switch to the back-facing cameras now. So starting recording with the back-facing cameras here, 4K 60 frames per second. What do you think about the stability, about the colors, about this little fountain, some guys passing by? And let's go and try the zoom shot. This is 3x, pretty smooth, isn't it? And this is now 6x, and can we zoom in on the sign there in the back? We have 18x. Still can read it, I think. We have buttons to zoom in and out. Go to the ultra wide angle. What I like here a bit better is, like, I have the zoom slider, and at the same time it's displaying me also buttons to directly zoom into a specific region, which I don't have with the Vivo X100 Ultra. Nevertheless, let's go to the ultra wide angle. Ultra wide angle looks fine as well. What do you think about lens flare and yeah, the church there in the background? No issues at all, I think. And let's try to zoom in during walking. 3x, 6x, 10x. So how's it doing? Let's go back to the 1x. So yeah, so far I think I'm liking it. Ultra wide angle here, 4K 60 frames per second, runs pretty nicely here on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. How does it compare to the Vivo X100 Ultra? In terms of usage, one-handed usage here, because Timmy is still with me, and yeah, pretty much the same. Very good. What do you think about those? Front-facing video, the Vivo X100 Ultra on the left and the Oppo Find X7 Ultra on the right. What we can see here is that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra has a wider field of view already, but even if I go a little bit back and you can see like the normal whiteness there, you can clearly see that the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is a bit wider in its default settings. Of course, I can get a bit closer. Oops, it was wrong. There you can also see that I can get a bit closer And when I get a bit closer, you can see this is roughly the same what we have now with the Vivo X100 Ultra. So the 1x option there on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra gets me roughly the same kind of field of view. What we can also clearly see is that we have a bit of over sharpening on the Vivo X100 Ultra. So you can clearly that it's sharpening up all the little hairs and details there on my face. Some people prefer this, but in my case I don't prefer it too much. The rest is a bit blurry here, which is like talking about autofocus and its capabilities, very nice. On the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, my face is quite soft and the back is a little bit sharper there. It has also autofocus, but it has this wider field of view by default. And yeah, this is the stylistic difference that you can see here. Otherwise, yeah, it's a bit smoothing my face there, where it's a bit over sharpened, I think, on the Vivo X100 Ultra. What I really don't like at 4K 60 frames per second is the stabilization on the X100 Ultra, which is a bit more shaky than the Oppo Find X7 Ultra, which is a lot less shaky, much more smooth, much more gimbal-like. When it comes to the main camera sensor and the video performance, it's pretty similar, only subtle nuances differences. Here we have again on the X100 Ultra, just like the X100 Pro, a little bit more saturated colors, a little bit more punchy colors, a bit more contrast added. You can see that here the shadows are a bit darker there, where the Oppo Find X7 Ultra is lightening and shifting them up a little bit. Also the contrast in the background is much more pronounced on the X100 Ultra as opposed to not being so pronounced on the Find X7 Ultra. So in general, it's a matter of taste, but I prefer the Find X7 Ultra for more natural kind of colors. The X100 Ultra also has some issues with not only like too punchy kind of colors here, but also a little bit too much contrast. So the bright spots are a bit too bright. It's going to a bit more to the greenish kind of side here, where you can see here the pavement is much better preserved there, the true color of the pavement, where here everything is like completely green for some reason, which is not very realistic. When we go in and yeah, the stabilization, both are fine there with the main camera sensor. Of course, we zoom in, we can clearly see an advantage of the X100 Ultra. First of all, the Find X7 Ultra, it like gets more contrast if you zoom in. With the Find X, where the Vivo X100 Ultra has less contrast. And when we zoom in further, what we can clearly see is that yeah, the X100 Ultra has like a phenomenal lens there, very large lens, very much details better there. Find X7 Ultra still has some issues apparently with shifting, because I was actually seeing on my screen the sign here, where here it is like shifting towards the side for some reason. So it has some issues there between what I see on the screen and what it's really recording, which is a bit of a bummer. Nevertheless, let's go to the ultra wide angle. Again, the ultra wide angle clearly showing almost the same. I probably wasn't at the same site right now, same spot. This is why it seems to be a little bit wider on the Find X7 Ultra. But what is more interesting is the colors and the contrast. As you can see here, again, especially look at the middle of the display there, and here as well. Much more contrast added on the Vivo X100 Ultra, where the shadows are a bit more lifted up on the Find X7 Ultra, and again a little bit more punchy colors on the Vivo X100 Ultra. That leads to being a little bit more unrealistic there, more contrasty kind of look that I really don't prefer so much. Then lens flare effect, we can also take a look at this, much more pronounced on the X100 Ultra, even though it has its size T-Star coating. It has a little bit more to fight with the lens flare effects there than the Find X7 Ultra. And yeah, this is basically it in terms of cameras and videos. So one thing is for sure here, another zoom test, just to show you this, while I was walking past by this here. Both handling the colors nice, and even if I go to 10 times, you can see the slight color shift on the X100 Ultra, where it's like quite bright, and then at 10x it gets a bit dark, a bit darker there. Let's go back at the maximum, like 10x here, I think it is, and Find X7 Ultra 10x. And what I find interesting is that I think here on this particular example, you can see that they're both very, very similar. There's not much of a difference there between them both. In general, however, I think the videography is a win for the Find X7 Ultra with its better stabilization, especially on the front-facing camera, But also the main camera, especially the ultra wide angle, is a bit better stabilized, where we have a bit more bumps on the Vivo X100 Ultra for sure. And I like the colors a bit more on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. It's a very, very close, both very, very good at 4K 60 frames per second. Vivo X100 Ultra, especially with its possibility to switch between front facing and back facing camera, a win there. But yeah, tell me your opinion down in the comment section. But I think the Oppo still takes the crown for videography.